Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the R Lounge. Not sure about you, but I'm pretty sure people don't ask for curses on their wedding registries. Today in the R Lounge, a brave bride-to-be dodges ill wishes from a jealous sister whose own wedding crashed and burned before she was able to say, I do. Mom asked me to cancel my wedding because Golden's sister would be hurt, so I uninvited them. I, 31 female, have been planning my wedding with my long-term boyfriend, fiancé, for over a year now. All the reservations were done 5 to 6 months back because we wanted to have the wedding on a specific day in December, which happens to be a holiday season. Now the thing is, my mom was not very happy that I was planning an extravagant wedding for myself because my sister was left at the altar by her fiancé a few months back and my wedding would hurt her. First of all, my wedding was not at all close to being called extravagant. Fiancé and I are frugal and we don't overspend on unnecessary things. The wedding is quite inexpensive with 50 guests, including close family and friends. There is no pre-wedding bash or bachelorette party. It's just the wedding followed by a modest lunch. Secondly, we were planning our wedding way before my sister planned to get hitched. Her wedding failure has nothing to do with ours. Besides, everyone including my mom and sister knew that we were planning our wedding this December, but I don't know why they decided to create a scene last moment. My sister is 3 years elder to me, and this is her second wedding. Her first marriage lasted for 2 years, and they got separated amicably. She had been single since then. Last Christmas, my fiancé proposed me for the marriage. We were initially planning for a summer wedding, but a summer month later, he got a short project overseas, so we postponed the wedding to this December. Since then, we've been planning it bit by bit. I hate to admit this, but I think my sister hurried her way into a second marriage because of me. She had just started seeing this guy when we announced our wedding last year. They had no plans for a wedding yet, but a few weeks later, I got to know that they were getting married. It sounded very weird to me, like marrying someone within a few months of knowing. Out of concern, I asked her if she was sure about this guy because marriage is a big thing, at least for me. She got defensive and said that not everyone is able to hatch a long-term relationship. It was a very sarcastic comment, but I let it slide. She never had a steady boyfriend. I think the longest relationship she had was for a year, with whom she married first and then got divorced after 2 years. I'm not saying 1 year is not enough for knowing your partner, but after one failed marriage, one should be cautious while making another move. This guy she had known for barely 5 to 6 months, and she was up for another wedding. Anyways, it's her choice and I respected that and didn't interfere further. They had planned for an intimate church wedding with a handful of people. I think it was less than 20. There were just 3 people from the groom's side on the guest list. He said his parents lived in a different country and would not be able to make it at such a short notice. So, from his side, there were 2 friends and 1 colleague. I think it was his manager, not sure though. However, on wedding day, none of them turned up, including the groom. We kept waiting at the church. My sister and my parents kept calling him, but he didn't show up. Later, he dropped her a text that he can't marry her because he isn't sure yet. My sister tried to calm him down and suggested that they continue with the relationship and later take a call on the marriage, but he ghosted her. That dude was in his early 20s, less than 25. Again, I'm not generalizing it, but you know how the early 20s phase is, particularly for Gen Z. I don't think anyone at this time would want to settle down at this age, especially after dating for just a few months. Since then, my sister has been bitter towards me. No, I didn't do any of those I told you so things, but I feel she blames me for jinxing her plans. Getting stood up at your wedding is the worst thing that can happen to anyone, and I was consoling her after that. She requested to be left alone with her friends and mom. Except for her friends and mom, I was the only one extra in the room. It was funny though. She could have just asked me to leave. I felt bad about it, but I left without saying anything. I wasn't feeling good, but I realized it must be humiliating for her, and she didn't know how to react. I called her after a week to check on her, but she didn't respond. I texted, but I was left on read. So I didn't bother her after that. A couple of months later, I met her at mom's place. I asked her how she was doing, and she was like, "Why are you treating me in the way as if I'm destitute, abandoned by a man? I need no man. I'm happy and complete being myself." I said, "Sure, but I was just checking on you." You see, I'm not making up my assumptions. She wasn't giving me cold shoulders after her wedding got called off. Last week, we sent out our wedding invitation. I got a call from my sister. I thought it was to congratulate me or something, but she was like, "So you're getting married in this outdoor location?" I said, "Yes." She was like, "Cool," and then she hung up. I was perplexed until I got a call from my mom on the same evening when she asked me to tone down the wedding because it was hurting my sister. By toning down, she meant canceling the venue and getting married at a church or at the registrar's office with 5 to 6 people from both sides. I told her that we had been planning this for over a year and she knew everything about the plan, then why she would suddenly have a problem with it. She said it was because my sister had been stood up at the altar and it would be insensitive for me to get married such lavishly within a few months. I told her we had made the payments for most of the wedding stuff, venue, food, decorations, not only the minimum booking amount, but we have paid almost 60% of it. I tried to make her understand that changing the plan would incur a loss. Canceling the venue would be a major loss for us. All the booking charges for the venue, decorations, and caterers are non-refundable. Hearing me whine about the loss, she suggested that I cancel the wedding. I was lost for words. I mean, how could she ask me to cancel the wedding? She said actually that's the better way to respect my sister's feelings. She would get enough time to move on from her trauma. She suggested that we push our wedding to next summer. I reminded her that we have already postponed it for our work and we cannot do it any further. She tried gaslighting the situation and said that if I could push it once for my fiancé, I should do it again for my sister if I love her. That made my blood boil and said I was not going to cancel anything and the wedding would happen as planned. She hung up on me. I discussed this with my fiancé, and he's of the opinion that maybe my sister is too devastated with her fate, and it must be hard for her to accept that everything is hunky-dory for me while her life is a mess. He said he was okay if I wanted to have a low-key wedding. Discussing this with my fiancé has made it worse for me because now I feel he is more empathetic toward my sister, and I'm being the jerk for not considering her feelings. Until now, I was thinking that it was unreasonable demand by my mom to cancel the wedding or tone down the plans, but now I'm thinking if I should consider that. I don't know, guys. Have any of you encountered a similar situation? Would love to have a fresh perspective on this. Yeah, pretty much like you said. Your wedding has nothing to do with the fact that hers didn't work out again. I mean, the second one didn't even make it past the altar. If that's not a sign that your sister is a less than stellar human being, I don't know what is. And why the heck would you cancel your wedding just because your sister can't handle it? The world does not revolve around her, and she needs to realize that. That's like saying, oh, your sister didn't like peanut butter, so you can't have peanut butter ever. Newsflash, life doesn't work that way. Update 1. Hello all. Thanks for engaging with me in the comments. It really helped me a lot. One of the comments probably a lot of you said is that my mom is narcissistic in asking me to change my wedding plans because it would hurt my sister. I realize you guys are right. It was indeed very mean. I'm not doing anything that should have hurt my sister if she really loved me. There's no better way to put this, but she's feeling hurt because she's jealous of me. That's it. And that's not my problem at all. Some of you asked about my family dynamics, whether my mom has always been this indifferent to me, and whether my sister has always been narcissistic. Well, it's a no because growing up, I never felt that my mom was too inclined towards my sister. Obviously, every parent has a favorite child subconsciously, but she never made that evident. Yeah, I used to complain that she loved my sister more, but she was never mean or evil to me. I shared a very normal sibling bond with my sister in our early childhood, but during our teens, we got distant. It was not because of any fights or so, just that we evolved as very different people. She was more homely and spent time with mom and aunts, busy in small talks, while I was never interested in all this. I was busy with my studies, securing scholarships, and hanging out with friends instead of family members. Also, I moved out quite early. When I was 18, I got into a college that was far from home, and since then, I have been living on my own. Whereas my sister lived with my parents until she was 25. She moved out to live with her first husband. Also, her husband's house was a few miles away, so she was always at mom's place every other weekend. Dad passed away 5 years ago, and since then, my sister has moved back with my mom. So yeah, they had spent a lot more time together than me, so naturally, they have a better bond than me. Nothing much has developed after my last post. Actually, I'm avoiding all conversation with them. Neither I'm visiting them or calling them. My fiancé asked me if I was considering my mom's request to postpone the wedding. I said no. The wedding would happen as planned. I'll make an update if anything develops. It's probably best that you aren't talking with them right now, OP. They'd only try to talk you out of being happy. In their minds, how dare other people be happy when they're so miserable together? Update 2. I hate to say this, but my sister is truly narcissistic and mom has been backing her up in her evilness. So my mom invited me and my fiancé for dinner. I didn't have a very good feeling about it. Before that invitation, she once called me asking about the wedding preparations. When I was giving her the updates, I felt she was not interested to know. It was more like, oh, you're still doing that. And then she interrupted me in between and said, why don't you come home and we can sit and talk? I got confused with this entire sit and talk stuff, but she said she meant a general catch-up. I didn't like the way she was behaving with me, so I didn't go. But last week she called up my fiancé and formally invited us for dinner. He asked her if there was any occasion or if there was anything she wanted to talk about. But she said there was nothing special, but she just wanted to feed us some home-cooked food. He couldn't refuse it, and we had to oblige. Before going there, I told my fiancé that if mom or sister requested to cancel the wedding or even asked to make any changes to the wedding, he should not oblige. My fiancé is a soft-spoken gentleman kind of person who often gets carried away by others' emotions. I told him not to give in to their demands or promise anything, and if such a situation arises, he should stay quiet and I would handle it. We went there, and gladly my sister wasn't around. Everything was going smooth until mom started talking about her wedding, how she and dad got married at a registrar's office, followed by a modest lunch with both of their parents, and how that money helped them in setting up the house and stuff like that. Mom tried manipulating my fiancé, saying that we have a long life ahead of us, so we shouldn't waste money on the wedding. I told mom that we had already planned a very frugal wedding compared to our means. We both earn decent, yet we lead a very simple lifestyle. She went on to say that it's our family tradition to have an intimate wedding because we are simple people and don't believe in showing off. I was like, wait a minute, my sister did have a more than intimate first wedding with 100+ guests. Mom defended it, saying it was the first wedding of the family and it was dad who wanted to have it as such. That day I realized how devious my mom was. She started sobbing and said she was so glad that dad was able to organize and witness at least one of the weddings of his daughters and how badly she misses him at all family functions. My fiancé hugged mom to console her, and I gestured at him not to get carried away by her tears. He was kind of annoyed by my stiffness. He was almost convinced by my mom and was like, sure, yeah, we'll take care of it, you don't worry, and stuff like that. Just then my sister stepped in and, oh my God, her bitterness has no limits now. She rushed to console mom, saying that she would always be there for her and she would respect and obey her decisions unlike others. Her sarcasm pushed my buttons to an extent that I could no longer hold back. I told her that I had not done or doing anything evil, that they were targeting me in such a way. This led to a full-blown argument between us where she said I should have canceled my wedding because my sister was going through such a rough phase in life, but I was so insensitive that I was not even ready to curb down the pomp and show. She was attacking me personally, but I still didn't say anything evil. I was just defending myself. But when she said that it was stupid to spend so much money on a single event, I gave it back to her. I said indeed it was just one event, yet the most precious day of my life, and unlike others, I planned to have it once in my lifetime. She understood that I was hinting at her for 2 weddings. I know I was evil and mean, but dude, I was done with her personal attacks. They had been calling me selfish, pompous, and whatnot for months now. I'm just so done being a good person and a bigger person. I'm just done. Now, I'm happy being the devil. If they truly cared about my happiness, they wouldn't have been hurt to see my wedding. They were simply jealous of me. Not to mention, my statement made the situation ugly, and my husband had to intervene and drag me out of the house. While leaving, I screamed that the wedding would happen as planned, and if they had a problem, they could skip it. This was yesterday, and I'm still fuming while I write this update. I'll tell you, you can handle all the evilness in the world, but the narcissism coming from the family is the hardest to deal. I'm not sure what you said is evil. I feel like you were just spitting facts. There's only so much a person can handle. Update 3. Thanks everyone for backing me up, and sorry for the rambling in my last update. I was fuming with anger and didn't know how to channelize it out. But thanks to everyone who PM'd me and engaged with me on comments. That really helped me calm down. Okay, I have quite an update this time. I'm getting married next week and we are going ahead with our original plans. That's the good part. A lot has happened after my last post, but gladly, I didn't lose my resolve. After that severe, I would call it a fight with my sister, and somewhat with my mom, I was going through a series of emotions, from anger to heartbreak. I didn't speak to my fiancé for a couple of days because I was not in a condition to have any rational discussion. He wanted to knock some sense into me, but I was just stuck with the thought that my sister couldn't stand to see my happiness, and mom was siding with her, ignoring my feelings. When my anger subsided, my fiancé talked me out through this. He said, let's shift the location to a church and cut down on our relatives. He believed that my sister mostly had a problem with the extended family witnessing the wedding and discussing my sister's fate at the altar. I was convinced about cutting down on the relatives part because I was not that social with aunts and uncles, but I really wanted the venue. Meanwhile, I called up my cousin, who's more of a gossip monger. To be honest here, I called her to check if my sister had told her anything about the fight. And yes, she did. My sister had been gossiping about me all throughout. She told them that I mocked and insulted her for her broken relationships. She had blown up the entire story over the top. If it was just my sister doing so, it was still understandable. But my mom had also joined her team and had been badmouthing me that I was insensitive and arrogant. I told my fiancé about this, and he stepped out of this. He was like, whatever you decide, I'm not getting into your family turbulence. So, we are going with the original plan of a garden-themed wedding with 70 guests as decided. As the wedding dates are approaching, I see my sister's narcissism taking new heights. She has been sobbing in front of my aunts about how inconsiderate I am and how I'm hurting her feelings by marrying at her face now. I fail to understand her problem. I'm not marrying her fiancé or her husband, that she is creating such a fuss about it. Aunt said that she tried to console her and asked her to be happy for me. When this tactic didn't work, she had been telling everyone to boycott my wedding so that I take a lesson in respecting the feelings of close ones. After I got to know about this, I emailed both of them, uninviting them from the wedding with the details of how they had been bad-mouthing me and hurting my feelings. I kept some of the key family members like my godmother aunt and her husband in the loop so that everyone knows my side of the story. After that email, I saw tables turning around. I got several phone calls from my other family members, including my godmother, assuring me that I was not doing anything wrong, but having a wedding of my choice. The reservations were done months ago, and everyone knew about the plans way prior, so what my mom and sister were doing was nothing but pure evil, and I have all the right to cut them off from the wedding. Yesterday, I got a long voice note from my sister, calling me a spoiled brat and strong-headed for not respecting her feelings. She was like it was so difficult for her to move on. She had been abandoned by her fiancé at her wedding just a few months ago, and instead of consoling her, I was eagerly planning my own wedding and scratching her wounds. She cursed me that I would meet a similar fate of hers, or even worse, when my fiancé or husband would abandon me or cheat on me with other women. Then I would understand her pain. I was holding up myself all this while, being strong about my decision, but hearing all this broke my heart. I couldn't contemplate how my own sister could curse me like this just a week before my wedding. The week before the wedding is anyways so much emotional roller coaster ride for a woman, and getting to hear this from your elder sister is the most horrible thing. People bless their siblings and children at their wedding, but I'm getting cursed. I don't know what I did to do to deserve this hate. My mom had also replied to the email that she was disowning me and that I should never visit her ever because I didn't care about my family's feelings. This happened so far. I'll update the thread if anything happens further. Else, send me good wishes for my future. Well, thank goodness you have some family members with sense. Imagine hating yourself and where you are in life so much that you have to curse your own sister and her very happiness. How foolish. It's okay, OP. But the sounds of it, your fiancé has his wits about him and respects and loves you. The only people who are cursed here are your sister and mother. They'll forever be unhappy if they wish unhappiness on others. Have you ever experienced something like this before? What did you do in that situation? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for following along today. Before you go, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you have something you want to share regarding today's content, we want to hear it. See you next time in the R Lounge.